we're just catching up here at SNL for the second time. Wow.
That was fun.
Yeah. And the monologue was amazing.
Monologue was fantastic.
We played the whole thing here. We loved it. We loved the monologue.
That was to me the whole.
Too.
When they asked me to do it, I thought the monologue is the whole thing for me.
Right.
And so I worked really hard on it. That's probably the hardest I've worked on a set. Like how many times I ran it in clubs.
Yeah.
And I tried to run it in places that were bad. You know, because when I go sometimes to the cellar, I get a lot of goodwill.
Right.
That doesn't help me get the thing right. And also, from the first time I did the monologue, the first thing that I was surprised by when I did SNL the first time is when I looked at the audience, I'm like, these are not cool comedy people.
Right.
They're tourists. You know, they're from the middle of America, which is who I play to when I'm on the road.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not a New York vibe.
No, no.
So I thought I got to get this set to be foolproof. My feeling was I might, with this, I didn't want to do a set that pandered to that crowd. But I wanted to have it ready so that if nobody laughed, I'd still look okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Like I wanted to be good enough at that set that if I got silence, I could still, because when you're watching somebody bomb on TV, you can only tell by their face if they're bombing. You know what I mean? The laughs are not that big a quotient in the sound mix, so if the guy looks like he's doing all right, you could buy that he's doing okay. So I went to bad places, like, you know, basement of bars in the Lower East Side. There's like some stand-up gigs in these places now.
Wow,
and I was looking on websites for shitty little stand-up venues.
Shit.
And I did, you know, there was one where there's water just dripping in front of me on stage. This place down in Orchard Street or something. I don't know. Anyway.
Wow, man.
So when I was there, I was like, I don't. If they don't like it, it's not going to go. But anyway, but the fucking crowd was good.
You know how many people were happy you came into their place, and now they're hearing that you picked it because it was a shitty little place?
Yeah, they're thinking they're happening finally because Louis C.K. walked in.
No, and Lorne really helped me with the monologue, actually, because in dress, I did 12 minutes. And I came off of there feeling like that's the greatest set I ever did. This was dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
I was headed for a disastrous, because it's very bad to have a good dress rehearsal for something and then do the real show. Anyway, I was so excited, and my manager said, "Don't let him cut anything. It's perfect the way it is." So I went up to the big meeting they have between dress rehearsal and the show.
Right.
And Lauren said, "So you did 12 minutes in the monologue. How much do you want to do on air?"
Oh.
And I said, "I want to do 12. And he goes, You're not doing 12.
Wow.
He said, "You could do 7. And I said, "What if I just keep going? What if I go over?" And he goes, "Well, then we'll know that you have no discipline or ability to edit yourself." And he said, "This is in front of everybody."
Holy fuck.
And I was like, "All right."
No discipline.
Yeah. And he goes, there are cuts in that monologue. It was good, but there were stops and starts. There were places you could cut, and I was like, "Fuck you!" You know, I was really mad. And then later, the timing lady said, "We're 1 minute under for the show." They figure out the timing, and I said, "Well, then I'll do 9 minutes." And Lauren said, "Hey, calm down." That's the first time he ever talked to me like that. Like, calm down. So I said, "I want to see the monologue. I want to see it from dress. Show it to me." And he goes, "Go ahead, give him a, you know." It was a little tiny bit tense because I was being really defensive.
No shit.
And so I watched the monologue from the dress, and I was like, "Holy fuck, there is a lot of cuts in this. This is not that good." Like, I was embarrassed. He saved me from going out there.
Wow, man.
Because there's a bunch of bits that did okay, but I blew them up in my head. It's the worst case scenario, is you do a rehearsal, and you're like, "I'm the greatest ever."
It's all gold.
And then on air, I would have fucking stunk for too long.
Wow.
So I sat with Michael Shea, who's a comic who writes for the show.
Yeah, he's really funny.
Very funny guy, and he sat with me to have another critical eye. It's very weird and embarrassing to ask another comedian, "Do you think this is funny?" So I knew that was a good test of it.
No
Well, it
shit.
brought me back down to the earth that I was on when I was doing the sets, which is, let's expect this not to go well. And then I left that earth with the dress rehearsal. I'm the best there ever fucking was, and I can do 12 minutes. And then with Michael Shea, I'm like, "Please tell me if this is funny. I don't know if this is funny."
I don't even think I have 5.
Yeah, I don't think that's exactly. I started to think, I don't think I can have. I might
Can you
have
do that
4.
joke twice? Hey, at least Michael had the balls to tell you. That's hard to tell. The biggest comic in the country, look, that one you should cut. I mean,
He
that's
was
good for him.
really, really helpful.
What time was all this going on? How close to the actual
This is,
show?
you know, the dress rehearsal. Fuck, I think it starts at like 9 or something. I mean, you don't have a lot of time.
How nerve-wracking
they're getting
couple
ready.
hours tops.
Yeah, there's a thing. There's a woman coming on. 3 minutes to air, and this is fucking live air. And I'm watching the other one. I'm going cut and trying to cut in my head.
You still watch it 3 minutes before air?
Yeah, and I was watching it and kind of cutting in my head.
Are you just shitting yourself at this point? I mean,
yeah,
honestly.
but I've been in that position.
Right.
So, yeah. So then when I hit the door, the back of the door that you come out for the monologue, I was like, I think I'm ready. I know what I'm not doing, and we'll just see how it goes. So that uncertain, nervous energy. You fucking need that to do that kind of thing well.
Right.
If you come out like, hey, I got this. You're fucked. So I invested like 3 weeks of preparation to feel that way. And I lost it, and when I could have,
Did it help? Did it help you to kind of have that shit to go over right before? Because then you're not focusing, like you're not just sitting there in front of the mirror going, "Okay, 10 minutes."
True.
Okay,
yes,
9 minutes.
That's true too. The more you focus on the actual work and the content, that's the only thing that's going to save you. It's thinking about the spectacle. And I said it. Sam Smith, the musical guest, he had never been on anything. They found him at South by Southwest, and I asked him before the show, "How you doing?" And he said, I'm shitting myself. English guy. I'm shitting myself. And I said to him what I was thinking, which is just think about the song. Just think about why you wrote that song or what are you singing about. Don't think about I'm on TV. Anytime you're thinking about I'm on TV, what could this mean for me? And am I this good? And worthless. Worthless.
Yeah.
All you should be thinking of is this is what this joke is about and this is what this joke is about.
Because no matter how good you are, you're always going to read Twitter and realize, oh, I'm a cunt and I suck.
Yeah, exactly. None of that's going to pay off for you. None of that's going to help you.
He killed it too. You couldn't tell it. It's Sam.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah, I thought so.
It's nice.
That's fascinating, that behind-the-scenes stuff. Wow, you're cutting and editing right up to showtime.
Yeah, it just seems like there's less time to panic if you're working.
Right.
Yeah. Fucking.
So
that's right.
How many minutes was it in the end? 8?
8 minutes.
It was 8.
Yeah.
It was. I know it was about. I don't remember. It was about God and it was about. Dying. I forget what it was about, but it was. I remember I watched it and we played. It was amazing.
We loved it.
Like, what a ballsy fucking live TV monologue.
Well, what I was impressed by was they don't vet your dialogue at all. Your monologue. They said nothing to me I thought, am I going to have to defend these jokes?
Right.
And I actually, the thing about somebody's got to check under the porch of God's porch to see if there's a dead lady under it. I thought about doing that only at air because I thought if I do it at dress, they might say something. But then I just felt it's not fair. They were so nice to me.
Yeah.
So I did it. Nobody from standards or anything came up to me.
Oh, good for you.
Not a word.
So at dress rehearsal, it's just the exact same show.
Yes.
And is that in case there's a meltdown or a disaster, they can just air it?
No, there's like almost twice the show.
Oh, okay.
The show at dress rehearsal is so they can choose the sketches and stuff. They do like, if there's like 8 sketches on the show, they do like, I don't know, 15, 16 at dress.
Wow.
I probably have the numbers wrong, but they do. It's
Then
so
they can pick and choose what like really worked and...
How
pick
guys like
the order.
Daryl Hammond survived for that many years in that high pressure. That's a high pressure performing situation.
I love it. It's my favorite thing. I love. Especially after this last time. It's so fucking fun. You feel so alive for that whole week. The amount of pressure on you every day, and the amount of stuff that goes on, and it's such your heart's beating all week long.
And they still have those crazy schedules, or have they calmed down where everyone stays up for?
Well, the writers are up all night, pretty much every night,
and they're punchy. There's something about being punchy, though.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good for you, I think. And I mean, these are young. Sketch writing is a young woman's thing. So there are some veterans there. There's a few veterans.
You get to leave after the week, and then they just another.
They say
week
Monday morning they're there with fucking.
They got to start over, and it's
crazy.
It's week after. That's crazy.
I wonder what it's like to have a douchey guest host. Like, I'm sure some of the guys that guest hosts aren't nice or comedians who understand humor that well. And that's got to be really frustrating or difficult.
Yeah,
I'm sure they have no problem telling the new host who the assholes were.
Yeah, you get to find out. On the table read day, there was this wonderful spread of food.
Yeah.
And they said, and it had a little sign on it from Lena Dunham. And she had just hosted. So she bought everybody dinner for the table read. Like, she sent dinner from a nice restaurant. And they said to me, Lena Dunham did this. And I said, I ain't going to do it. I'm not sending you dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck you. And so I stopped that tradition. That probably could have been a tradition.
Right.
That would have gone on for years. Then I did it. And then the next person. But I said, I'm going to stop it here and save the next Seth Rogen from having to do it.
Right. Yeah, Lena Dunham sent us dinner, and Louie left a bag of chips, and that was it.
Yeah, for someone to clean up.
Oh, that's funny.
But and then on the other side of the spectrum, you get to hear stories about, Justin Bieber's a fucking giant asshole. So,
I hope so. Please don't shatter it. Such a dreamy doll.
Yeah, we're all surprised by that.
Yeah. Why was he an asshole?
He's a mean dick.
Really?
Whatever. I'm betraying somebody's trust, but fuck that kid. Fuck that kid. Yeah.
You've hosted Saturday Night Live twice.
Yeah.
And it's great because your opening monologue, it doesn't seem like the kind of opening monologue that the scriptwriters write for most of the guests. It seems like you bring your stories and you tell them as if you were the comic whose show it was. You don't do the typical guest host thing. And your monologues have been great. And I want to play an excerpt of the most recent one. And so this is Louis C.K. on Saturday Night Live, and you managed to talk about religion in this. That's hysterical and very profound. Can you talk a little bit about the process of writing that and deciding you were going to do a bit about, is there a God?
When they asked me to host the show again, to me the one thing I wanted to really have was a great monologue. They give you total free reign on the monologue. I mean, if you're a stand-up. And I wanted to take advantage of – that's the biggest audience I ever see is the top of the show Saturday Night Live. I don't know how many people it is, but it's something like, 4 million people watch that show. And don't know 4 million people watch my show. Like nobody, I never tap 4 million people except for in SNL's monologue. So I thought if I can really make it not just have it go well the first time I did the host at SNL, I realized I learned something that I didn't know, which is that the audience there is a pretty young audience. They're families that go together. It's kind of a Disney audience. It's and I'm not putting these people down. They're tourists from outside of New York usually, and they're not a dark people. You know what I mean? Like in their intent or their feelings. They're not nightclub stand-up, let it hang out people. They're cheerful, ready for a good show, sweet middle of the America people.
Not your audience.
Not my audience. Well, I mean, I play to those audiences all over the country. I play every city in America. But usually when I go to like Minneapolis, I'm tapping Minneapolis's more nefarious types. I'm not I'm not getting the Chamber of Commerce and the Catholic League coming. So I thought I want to do something that's compelling and really a good monologue, but the crowd might not be there for it. They may not be their thing. So I trained for that monologue. I did a lot of sets in town, and I did a lot of clubs where there was no audience really, or places where I knew I would do poorly, because I wanted to be sure that the monologue would go well whether the audience liked me or not.
That's great. So how do you find a place that you know you're going to do poorly?
Well, there's places that just you're up against it. There's like, open mic type places where there's not much of an audience, or the audience is just other comedians with notebooks waiting for you to get off stage. I went into any places I'm not usually don't feel totally comfortable in. I feel comfortable in most of New York, but there's some places that it's a little off in there, or there's only, I did a lot of weeknight sets, like a Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. show somewhere where there was really only 8 people in the audience, that kind of thing.
They must have been surprised to see you.
Yes, people were usually surprised that I would walk in, depending on the place. Some places nobody cared. But I kept working on the set, working on the ideas in the set and connecting to the material and not worrying about what the audience was doing. And then I got lucky that the crowd at SNL was awesome. They loved it, and they were ready for it, and they were excited. And something I've learned over the years is that when you talk about religion, you want to talk to religious people. Even if you're talking about something that's contrary religiously or provocative, a religious audience is a better audience for that. If you talk to a bunch of cool atheists in leather and suede, sucking on their vape sticks or whatever they're doing, they're not going to get it because they don't even think about God. It's not even on their radar, So but if you tell religious people, I don't know if there's a God, I don't think there's a heaven, where's God's ex-wife? These things, they have a connection to it that means something.
Did that monologue sum up where you stand on the question that, like, you don't believe in God, but how can you really know?
Yes, I do. That's how I feel. I feel like the math in my head tells me that we're just that everything's just science and randomness and patterns, and but the main thing I feel is that it's a great mystery. I feel like I need to be humble before the mysteries of life. I have no idea what's caused all of this.
Your father,
you have to consider every possibility.
You've said that even like when you do Saturday Night Live and you're plotting your stand-up, because when you come out, you can actually do a stand-up. You don't have to have somebody sit there and write your jokes.
Yeah, right.
You don't have to sing.
You said I think it was in Judd Apatow's book. You said you discovered that you were going to, one of the appearances you did on Saturday Night Live, you were going to do a 12-minute set.
That's right.
And Lorne came to you and said, no, 12 minutes too long. You got to cut it to 8.
That's right.
And at first, you're probably like, hey, fuck you. I do stand-up.
Yeah, I'm
pretty successful.
Offended. Because I did dress rehearsal first, and I did 12 minutes, and I killed.
Right.
And I was like, that's the greatest thing anybody ever did, what I just did.
Yeah.
And he said, cut it to 8. And I was like, what if I don't? What if I do 12? Like, I said that back to him. And he said, then I'll know that you have no restraint and can't be a professional.
Finally, we learned the truth.
Yeah.
Well, he's right.
But then I watched. He told them to let me watch myself from dress rehearsal. He said, I think you'll find cuts in there. And I watched it, and he was totally right. Because the dress rehearsal felt good because I was full of adrenaline. But he's there every week, and he knows that you get excited from dress, but it wasn't that good. I needed to cut it.
Also, it's the difference in the medium. When you're there in the studio with that audience, they're hungry for something, so they'll sit through a 12-minute set and love it.
That's right.
But on TV, everything's so fast. It's got to be bam, 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 right?
That's right.
Right. You can't go by what's in the crowd there in the audience.
No, and also the audience in the air show is completely different. The dress show, there's this loose feeling that anything could happen. You could even curse. But the audience that's on the live show, they know they're on live television, so they're nervous, and they get a little tight.
I can't imagine what it's like to prepare a set for television.